Hi, I'm U.S. Immigration Attorney Larissa Davis, and today I want to talk to you about marriage-based petitions. These are petitions filed by either a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, a green card holder, for their spouse, their wife, or their husband. And so I want to kind of give you a general idea or a big picture of the process and what's involved so that you know what to expect. First, should you hire an attorney? I would say yes. You might think I'm biased because I am an attorney, but I can tell you that I've seen a lot of clients come after they tried to go through the process on their own, and then they ran into some additional hurdles along the way or some issues because they had to provide more evidence, their evidence wasn't sufficient, or they even got, which is called an RFE, a request for evidence, which is issued from USCIS, and it makes the process take even longer, and it is a long process, but having it slowed down even more because you didn't realize how much was really required from you, or maybe there was an issue with the way your forms were filled out. Whatever the problem is, it just isn't anything that makes anyone happy because they just want to get the process done with and get their spouse their green card. So that's why, yes, I would say you should hire an experienced immigration attorney to help you along the way. Another thing is spouse. You might hear me say spouse throughout this video. If English is not your first language, and this has come up with a client of mine in the past, please understand spouse means your husband or your wife. So don't be offended or think that it's the wrong word for you if you see it on a form, for example. It does mean husband or wife if you hear the word spouse. Okay, so first, processes, timelines, and the visa bulletin. You can check the visa bulletin online. There's a website where you can kind of get an idea of the time window. It is travel.state.gov. That is the U.S. Department of State page where you can look up the current bulletin. They just issued the June 2022 bulletin. And so USCIS, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, along with the Department of State, they revise procedures for determining visa availability, and then they update their bulletins every month. So you can go in there. I've got the website pulled up right now, and they have past fiscal years listed as well. So you can see if you've already got a pending visa, and you can check depending on what country your petition is for. If your husband or wife is from, for example, from China, from India, from Mexico, from Philippines, those are specifically listed in the chart. So you can look there for the timelines. As far as processes, I want to let you know that the I-130 petition is the form that would be filed, but it's not the only form. There are other forms that would need to go along with that I-130 petition, and there is a lot of information that goes into these forms, so it needs to be fully completed, and it needs to be accurate. So if you leave blanks, if you don't put the most current and correct up-to-date information, or you don't update it once it's pending, for example, if you move, then you could possibly have some issues later down the road, and it's just another issue you have to deal with. So again, I would recommend hiring an attorney. Costs. So the U.S. government charges a fee for filing the I-130 petition. Right now that fee is $535. It does change, so do go on and check online what the current fee is, because they do change fees for different types of immigrant petitions from time to time. At the time of this video, May 2022, the fee is $535, which must be submitted along with the petition, evidence, and all the other forms that must go along with the petition you're trying to file for your spouse, your husband or wife. There are a lot of required documents. Marriage certificate is one of them. Others include things like perhaps your passports, if you have those, birth certificates. If you have been married in the past and you got a divorce decrees as well. I've had clients who come from other countries that maybe they didn't get their divorce decree, or it was so long ago they lost it. And so there's other issues that can arise along the way with your evidence. And your evidence is so, so important to show USCIS that you have a valid marriage and a real marital relationship. Other things that you want to keep in mind if you're going to get married or if you've already got married is anything related to the wedding day. It could be a guest list of people who maybe signed a book when they came to your wedding. It could be photos. It could be gifts to one another, joint accounts, all of these things that show the US government that you are in fact husband and wife. You live together, you have a life together. And if you don't live together, that's something else that has to be addressed. It's not necessarily a bad, it doesn't necessarily mean that your case would be denied because you don't live together. It just means that there has to be some valid, reasonable explanation for why that is. And so I would go into that through a consultation if you're looking to hire an experienced immigration attorney. I've helped a lot of clients along the way, and I could tell how much relief it gives them to have somebody by their side who's gone through this process before. And if you've never gone through it, presumably you have not, then being able to go to your legal counsel and get your questions answered, and knowing that everything's going to be properly prepared by somebody who's gone through the process can really, really relieve a lot of stress along the way and be just tremendously helpful. And that's what I've seen from clients in the past. So again, I'm encouraging hiring an attorney for this process. There are also issues of inadmissibility. So maybe if your spouse has any kind of criminal record, depending on the types of crime, there are things called crime of moral turpitude. So domestic violence, child neglect, and other types of issues like battery. It depends on the charges. It depends on the language in which the charges were made in that state and how they compare to those types of inadmissible acts. So again, something that an attorney would be able to assist you with if that's even part of your case. It might not be. If you have children from a previous marriage, or if the wife in the relationship is pregnant, that's some great evidence of a legitimate marriage. So having all of this proof all goes to supporting what's called a bona fide relationship. I've had a client say to me that he was insulted that he had to show the US government that this was his wife and they had kids together. And I understand why that could be frustrating, but something you have to understand when you're applying for a green card for somebody, it's somebody that you know, it's somebody that you have a relationship with. The US government doesn't know you, they don't know this person. So you've got to give them proof to say who you are, who this person is, and how you have this bona fide marital relationship, and that's why they should be issued a green card. So it's all about the evidence and the proof, and then ultimately the interview where you will both go and be interviewed by a USCIS officer. So if your spouse is overseas, if your wife or husband is in another country and you are in the United States and you want to petition for them, they'll take a little bit of a different route than if they were already in the United States. They have to go through what's called consular processing. I might do a separate video about that because that's also a whole process within itself that has different steps involved. So the interview. I love to prepare my clients for their interview. It helps them with a lot of things. One, it helps to relieve some of their stress and anxiety about going in and talking to a stranger about their relationship with their husband or wife. Number two, it also gives them some real good expectations of what kind of questions are they going to be asked. You might be surprised at some of the questions that a USCIS officer can ask about the relationship. For example, do you know what color toothbrush that your wife or husband has? That's just one example of many questions a USCIS officer may ask at that interview. So after getting the green card, which is extremely exciting and always a wonderful, wonderful day, There are some things to know about in terms of planning for eventually applying for naturalization later down the road as well. So I always want to make sure my clients understand that moving forward. I have kind of touched on a lot of things really quick just to give you an overview, but if you'd like to talk to me more about your particular situation, your relationship, you want to petition for your husband or wife, you can give me a call, 601-724-9255. Now, if you're not married yet and you're thinking about getting married, or you're engaged and you want to know if you can apply for your fiance, you can. It's a different type of set of forms and a process. It is called the K-1 fiance visa. I don't handle those as much, not necessarily because I just don't handle them. They don't occur as much. Usually a person coming to me to petition is already married. There's a lot more involved in proving to the US government that you and your fiance are in fact a real couple and you are planning to get married. So that's a separate process, different forms, and a whole lot more involved. So again, call me if you are interested in setting up a consultation, you want to hire an attorney. I can go over any questions you have and fees and everything else. I would be happy to hear from you. So until next time, bye.